This is The Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a weekly podcast that demystifies and promotes widespread adoption of cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology. You're listening to episode number 17, covering blockchain news for the week of August 14th through the 20th. This week on the show, Steve, Ethan, and I talk about central banks issuing bitcoins and Bitcoin forking. To fork or not to fork? So I was just watching this Bloomberg's video, central banks to issue bitcoins they're talking about. You know, the central banks that are talking about blockchain technology.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure how I understand this. There's three guys here talking about it. One guy seems to be the expert. And I can't understand how it is if you're a central bank and you want to be issuing digital currency, I don't understand how it is that that the central bank continues to maintain control of it if it's decentralized.
There's a bunch of different people trying to do a bunch of different things in this system. Central banks issuing Bitcoin itself is probably not going to happen, but issuing a digital currency like Bitcoin, they're certainly going to try to do that. They want to, they're rent-seeking individuals. Basically, they're trying to take as much money out of the system as they possibly can. And so in order to create like a Fed coin or something where, the Fed is in control of the nodes. The Fed is the one issuing the currency. And, the Fed is the one responsible for the currency or whatever central bank is involved in it.
Does it? Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but does that, when you're saying that, does that mean that the Fed, all of the miners are the Fed? Is that how that works?
So they would have what's called like a permission blockchain or it's a different beast. It's a different entity, and I think it kind of like comparing the internet to AOL, where some people thought AOL was the internet. You would go on AOL and that was your internet. That's what you thought of as the internet, and it was very specifically what AOL was curating content. Where it's kind of like, or if there was a corporation that built an intranet where only certain internal sites were made available, and it kind of defeated the whole purpose of what the internet was. And so when the central banks want to do things with Bitcoin, like create their own Fed coin, it defeats kind of the whole purpose. Yeah, they would have permission where only federal regulators would be the nodes, would be the decentralized computers verifying things, and it's kind of, they will try it, and I guess there is some chance that it could be useful in some way. Maybe even a large chance. I don't know, like maybe the Canada is trying to do it really well. They've been very open to central banks, and maybe, that'll catch on. You can download a wallet right now, and if you're one of the test members, I think, and instantly trade from your bank account to a digital representation of a permissioned ledger that the Canadian government has controlled, and you instantly get that coin. Will it work in the long term? I don't think so, but they're going to try for sure.
There are no laws that say you can't accept other currencies, right? That's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
There is. They try to get people on counterfeiting laws. When somebody, wants to accept a different currency, in the United States, the government will throw anti-counterfeiting laws at them. It doesn't really matter whether it's an actual dollar or set to, like there was something called the Liberty Dollar, and it was, just its own currency, and they went and, attacked him. I think he tried to hole up with guns, and they, shot him down.
So the last, I need to know, you need to repeat that part about the guns.
I think he, decided to take a stand in his home. The guy who created the Liberty Dollar, And he, fought a gun battle before they captured him.
One of the comments that these guys had said was something like, "So are these central banks going to issue Bitcoin?" And the guy who knew the answers said, "No, they're not going to want to issue something that was probably made in somebody's basement."
Somebody's mom's basement.
Somebody's mom's basement.
That's how it was done. That's how the Bitcoin was made.
Right. Right. Manufactured like a secret chamber.
Can I play something for you guys?
Yeah.
My baby's in there. Just little embryo.
I hope he's born at Cedars-Sinai Hospital on Beverly and San Vicente.
This is the Californians.
Yes.
Hey, great news, Karina. I bought an outdoor projector at Fry's in Burbank. Devin, what are you doing in here?
I'm guilty of that one.
I was going to set up the path lights out back. Just have to go pick them up at Lowe's Home Improvement.
That's all the way in Torrance.
Not that Lowe's, Stuart. The one on Pico. I'm going to take Benedict Canyon down to Sunset, then cut across to Hannah.
That Lowe's doesn't even have an outdoor section, Devin.
Do now, Stuart. We got a small one. They opened it up in January.
Keep it down, you guys. My mom is in the guest bedroom.
So, Steve, do we sound like that yet? I know I'm very susceptible.
What are you talking about?
I don't notice a ton of vocal fry now.
I'm sure it'll come out during this podcast, man.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I see it now.
And then during the podcast.
Yeah, sometimes when I hear my children... Yeah, that's the Chicago version. Sometimes I hear my children and I think...
They have a pretty Californian accent.
It's happening. But they know that I'm not into Uber Valley Girl stuff, and so they've made a beeline in that direction. So if they ever want to get under my skin, they'll just say things like a Valley Girl.
Totally. We live in the valley.
So listen, there is one more thing, Steve, that I did want to talk about. But if you have things to talk about, I can wait. I can hold my horses.
I'm just here in my parents' basement making Bitcoin. That's how it's done.
Because I don't want to be the harbinger of awful news, but I'm not. I mean, I'm just noticing that there's a persistent theme, like even from last time, and now it's maybe it's just what I'm seeing. Who knows? But now in this Bloomberg Markets, man who introduced millions to Bitcoin says blockchain is a bust.
Oh, this guy.
Do you know who this, either it's Stefan or Stefan Thomas is?
I vaguely read the article, and there was a video on YouTube.
You read the one that is like the subtle tyranny of blockchain, this article that he wrote?
No, anyways, he created a YouTube video, and that's how he introduced people to Bitcoin. It was, there was that many views on his YouTube video.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, because it's kind of ridiculous to think, like, what the hell do they mean? He introduced these people, but there's it's at there's a lot of issues in Bitcoin right now, and there's a lot of problems with it in general. I know when anybody actually wants to look at it honestly, the Bitcoin core community kind of tries to shut them down, and there's people who don't really want to hear a dissenting viewpoint. But there are issues. There are people that are trying to fork Bitcoin right now, which I think is a good thing because there's kind of like a stranglehold on the currency by one company and its employees controlling the core piece of software called Bitcoin Core. But what was this article about?
I haven't figured out what's so busty about it. Blockchain is a bust, is what this guy says. I wonder if he's going to make a new YouTube video that will explain it to us all, millions of us, why it's a bust. But no, he wrote an essay titled "The Subtle Tyranny of Blockchain."
The subtle tyranny. Where are you having an issue? Sorry.
Blockchains are systems of central state. With this context in mind, the recent situation with Ethereum is not surprising in the slightest. Well,
okay.
What the heck does that mean with that in mind? Okay, I don't know. I think you just have to explain that one to me. Central state. Systems of central state. They're decentralized. So how is it that you can just say that sentence and then carry on like, that's a fact, so let's move on with this? I don't get it. I'm confused. I've done something. I've gone awry.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously referring to, you know, the shared state, that every node has the same state. That's the point of the blockchain. It's decentralized how they arrive at that state, but once it's complete, that shared state is the same. What
does state mean then?
Well, in a programming language, state would be the different variables. So let's say you go to a website and you input your name and your address and whatever, and you hit next. The state of that application is you're in the middle of an application and your name is X and your address is Y. That's the state. The state of the blockchain ledger is like, you know, you own X Bitcoin and it had these transactions in the past. So the state, what it is, the overall all-encompassing
what it is, yo.
situation,
like the state of affairs, the state of the union.
Yeah, the affairs, the state, like what it is, I think.
Its current form.
Mm-hmm.
The memory, you know, the short-term memory, the long-term memory of the system. Not like what it's capable of doing or what the protocol is, but what are the units of its memory.
Dope. Dopest dope. Hands down.
I think we need to bring back the bits. Because it focuses my week a little more. And even if, like, people who might get turned off from it, there's, like, maybe one or two who might stumble upon our show during the week, so who really cares?
Oh, all right. That's cool.
What do you think?
Yeah, fuck them.
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, we just turned off all the people listening with children.
We did what now?
It's listed as explicit. That's our right.
Yeah,
Sarah.
No, I'm good.
We have a right.
No, I want people to express their feelings thoroughly. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I think we should do what we can to make it as accessible as possible. So maybe that just means some sort of change up on my end. Work on it. They're just hard for me to understand. I don't know why. Like I said, it's like the traffic or something on the radio. I can't. It's very hard for my brain to understand those things. And if it's demystifying, maybe I'm like the canary in the coal mine that's saying I'm mystified by those bits. Because I was always mystified by the bits.
Yeah, the bits are kind of
I'm not proud. I know. I'm not claiming to be a know-it-all. I'm a know-it-less.
Right, so we should probably talk about the subtle tyranny thing.
Okay, subtle tyranny. Talk about.
Do you understand any of what he's trying to say? Because it's somebody who is, you know, within the Bitcoin community who seems to have taken on the same vision that Satoshi had in 2008 and 9, when it was just a fledgling, just an idea, and there was a different sort of community around Bitcoin. Gavin Andresen was one of the first people who I need to figure out what I want to say here. Give me a second.
Can you hear that, Steve?
Yeah.
I wonder if we hear all central banks talking about this, or who is asking the possibility of digital currencies?
So right now the sort of forefront players have been the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada, and some South American banks have expressed interest. But as we note in the op-ed, the U.S. has not really taken this idea very seriously, or written or have any proposals about this.
So not the Fed. They're not interested, or at least haven't shown any interest yet. Why would they, though? I mean, what are the benefits that a central bank would get out of issuing digital currency?
So one of the immediate financial benefits is that they don't have to print money anymore. You don't have to have any costs of minting pennies, which cost more than a penny to make. So that's one of the immediate financial benefits, but one of the other benefits is you're going to have more targeted monetary policy. So you'll allow the central bank to directly control the finances of the country, directly pay interest on people's accounts, and target monetary policy that way, as opposed
different levels. You're saying, for example, they could have a different monetary policy in some areas of Minnesota than they have in some areas of Arkansas, or they could have different monetary policy for people over 70 and different monetary policies for people under 20, because that's the amount of control that they would have on those accounts.
Yeah, it really would be a disintermediation of the big banks. It would no longer be the big banks controlling monetary policy, the Fed doing it through the big banks. It would be the Fed doing it directly.
So why is Bitcoin the mechanism through which that becomes so much more easy to do,
as opposed to competitors or their own form of digital currency?
So really, what they would do is create their own form of digital currency. They don't want to be messing around with something that was probably made in someone's mother's basement. They're going to come up with something from scratch and figure out their own way to do it.
But what, using blockchain technology?
Yeah, so they'll use the underlying technology, the blockchain technology, but they'll do it in their own proprietary way, and they'll decide how open they want it to be to the public. The thing about Bitcoin is that it's very open to the public. Anyone can see anyone's amounts, and I don't think people want people knowing how much money they have.
And it's democratized, right? I mean, the miners are the ones that keep the controls. Would they have their own miners?
Yeah, so I don't think the Fed would want to democratize monetary policy. They wouldn't want the kind of people who we know running monetary policy.
All right, so this is something that it's kind of, I mean, it's a serious long shot. It's a long way off. Interesting to talk about, and we could do it for hours. What about actual Bitcoin that we see fluctuating so much lately? I mean, it had a huge spike this year and is down after that. What do you expect from the price, or how do you explain the price actions?
More buyers than sellers, and more sellers than buyers. Really, it's a very illiquid market. It's, I think the market cap is a couple $2 billion, and so who knows why it does the things it does.
The volatility that we see in Bitcoin, does that have anything to do with why maybe central banks are a little bit hesitant to kind of move into a different form of currency that they're not yet familiar with?
Yeah, so that's definitely one reason. Another reason is obviously the security concerns and the privacy concerns that people have. People don't necessarily want the government knowing exactly how much money they have and who they're giving it to and who they're sending it to.
Okay. The interviewer didn't know much about anything at all, which is pretty typical of, television hosts. They're kind of,
talking heads.
If you've ever read the newspaper on a subject that you're very, very familiar with, you realize just how bad journalists get it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But we forget about things that we're not experts in.
Exactly.
And think this journalist is really telling me stuff. But
yep. And you forget that that's just a person. Not every single sentence they said has been run through the ringer of accuracy.
Well, the opposite.
Yeah. It's a lot of opinion. So much opinion. I noticed that with Lyme disease. That's very interesting to me. I've always thought that was funny because I'm watching it unfold in the press or in newspaper world. It's sort of like how fashion kind of ripples out. So whatever's happening in New York City in 2000 is not going to happen in Fort Dodge, Iowa until 2030.
Right.
And so whatever's happening within the Lyme community, the things that you know about 5 years ago is brand new news to other people. Oh my goodness, frustrating.
Yeah. And then the guy who was talking had had a lot of knowledge about the space, but he's also, it's one of those things where what the Fed may try to do isn't going to work long term. It's not the long term solution. Yes, they're going to try it, and it may even be successful for 10, 20 years or so. And I think that that's an important part of this as well. Letting these nation states attempt to create their own version of things. The more the merrier, I suppose. It won't work. It's in the long term. It's ill-fated, but I think it's a bridge that's going to be necessary.
Yeah, I can't see how it would work either, but that's just me talking.
Yeah, it won't work long term. The stupid jab about like people in their mother's basement. It's just somebody who obviously is disappointed in how his life turned out. Talking to idiots on the TV, he's got to make jab about people.
Yeah, he wishes he had some Bitcoin a couple of years ago.
Right. For sure. If he would have only learned how to make it in his mother's basement.
He had a nice suit on, though.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I just noticed that he started every sentence with, so.
That's a big
bam.
thing nowadays. It's the new like.
Oh.
Starting
So.
conversations with so.
Oh.
Or sentences.
So.
I don't like it.
That's kind of a blanket statement for something that's, benign.
What, I don't like it?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
You remind me of Elena right now.
Oh, is it my turn to talk right now? That should never be the case.
I forget about all the things that I want to talk about when it's time for the show. It's just like
Oh, so the bits are like your outline, huh?
right.
Yeah, I totally get it because we used to just go down the items and talk about them. You're right.
Yeah.
We should bring it back. Yo.
I think so. Jack's updated their software. Now you can trade in Dash if you wanted to on the Jack's wallet.
You got any Dash?
I do not have any Dash. I should get some, I suppose.
I didn't know Dash existed,
Yeah, what's
but it
Dash
sounds
all
like it
about?
would be currency for like
Usain Bolt?
Aries people.
There isn't a specific astrological sign currency that I know of.
I bet you anything you break it down, you're gonna find that
Libra coin.
I know, you break it down, you're gonna see. Like the
There might be
Capricorns are
some-
probably always gonna go for a certain kind.
There might be some sort of coincidental coin that has, shares a name, but I don't think any coin particularly targeted.
I think it would be a fun sociological study, and if there's some college student out there who has to write a paper, they should do that and get back to the blockchain show.
Dash is a pretty interesting coin. It was originally called Dark Coin, and it allows for a
that
lot
was
of
the dark coin.
Yeah, it allows for anonymity, anonymous transactions. They also do like something called proof of stake, which is different than proof of work. When miners
There's that state again.
Stake.
Steak, okay.
Yeah.
Like tenderloin.
Oh, but probably
Like-
not that either.
Nope.
Stake, stake.
So more like a
you
stake
have
through the heart.
You have something no.
It
like you have
keeps
some,
a tent up.
That,
No,
but that's
you-
through the heart.
Yeah.
No, you have something at stake. You have something at risk.
Right. But don't you spell it the
That's-
same way as one that you would kill a vampire with?
Yes, it's spelled the same way. But it's not.
But that's not what we're talking about. Got it.
No, not that meaning. Not proof of. But proof of
Vampire slayerdom. Put your stake in the air.
And so this is so what Dash does is it has a proof of stake versus a proof of work. Proof of work is what Bitcoin uses and what Ethereum uses at this time. Ethereum will switch to proof of stake, and Bitcoin will switch to a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake with the Lightning Network. If that gets ready or when that gets ready, which is kind of interesting to think about. But there's a lot of electricity used to secure the Bitcoin network proof of work. It's very, very labor intensive on your machine. And one way to solve that is to go to something like proof of stake, where you verify transactions, but you risk your own Dash or your own crypto tokens. If it was on Bitcoin, you risk your own Bitcoin. And if you're if other people decide that you're wrong about, if you verify stuff incorrectly, then you will lose your dash. And so that's kind of how the system changes.
Incentive to get it right.
Yeah, you have incentive to get it right, and that saves a ton of electricity, a lot of electricity. There are a number of people who say that it just won't work, but people say that about Bitcoin. It's hard for me to say whether something will or will not work until you actually try it. I think that proof of stake is worth the effort to see if it will work, because it's very important to have something that's sustainable. I don't think worldwide using all this electricity just to mine, just to create basically random numbers over and over again for the Bitcoin mining process is very, very useful. I think it's unsustainable in the long term. It possibly might be unsustainable. I haven't done the math yet to see exactly how much of an energy drain it is to verify transactions, but it's pretty intensive.
It seems like it.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of money being spent on electricity to secure the network.
Gosh, it doesn't even really need to be spent at all. If you're starting up something new, why don't you just start it up so that you've got all these solar mining stations? And then there you go. Problem solved. Bam. I mean, I guess you have to print. I'm a 3D printer.
Fabricate.
Yeah, you have to create the means. Or even wasn't it you who said putting up some of those current... It's amazing. The force of water, these currents are just always going. So much power, so much force. You ever seen those machines that utilize currents? Somehow I can really sense the power behind that.
It's moon power.
Moon power. Yeah.
Sometimes.
We can use solar and lunar.
Lunar.
But still, though, even if it is, not free energy, but efficient energy, it's still a waste of time a bit. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, I think you're right. It's proof of work versus proof of stake. So yeah, I guess if you had excess solar power, or you use solar power, it's certainly a much more sustainable process, proof of work. But if you can figure out how to get the proof of stake to work, and it does work, then you save all that extra wasted electricity, which in my mind is a good thing. I don't, even if it can be done in a way that's sustainable with solar energy, I suppose that would be great too. Better than the way it is currently, where a large portion of it is not renewable energy. But that's just my opinion.
I'm with you. Not that I really completely understand.
Yeah, that's
my own opinion.
I'm
just going to use yours. I'm going to consider you my resident expert.
Ethereum Classic is a coin now, so it's its own thing. Yeah, there's an Ethereum Classic.
We're already at the point where there can be a classic cryptocurrency?
There apparently is one. There was with the fork to fix the DAO, I guess some people liked the chain that the thief kept his bounty. The place where the ledger was not changed. They thought that had value. It was pretty strange. I don't know if it was strange, but I think that the Ethereum community, I think most of the Ethereum community was in favor of the hard fork. There was a number of people that weren't, and they were vocal about it, and there was a debate that happened. But most people on most miners and most application or dApp developers and users all decided that they wanted to go through with the fork, maybe about 85% to 15%, but that minority 15%, and also I think it brought in a lot of people from the Bitcoin space who had absolutely no interest in the community beforehand, were people like Barry Silbert. He's a venture capitalist who before Ethereum split had only Bitcoin holdings and he felt that this chain was worthwhile. He's probably a big reason why it's there. The Bitcoin core developers seem interested in it as well. I don't know if they're doing it out of spite or because they want to, or if they're actually interested in keep maintaining the chain. And either way, it's great. I think the more cryptocurrencies that are available to suit people's needs, I think that's the more the better. If there's a need for a chain where even thieves get to keep their money, more power to them. So that's what's happening with that, which I think is, so there's 2 Ethereums right now. If you had Ethereum pre-fork, you now have coins on both chains.
But otherwise, it's all post-fork.
Yeah, so now it's post-fork, so if you want to, pick a chain or go with both chains or whatever, most of the development...
This stuff is so confusing.
It's incredibly confusing. It is confusing, but it doesn't have to be.
No. There's just always something new. I should be so careful about making bold proclamations of things because I find out that I don't quite really understand everything all the time.
Well, luckily, you're in the same boat as everybody else in this space.
On planet Earth.
Well, on planet Earth too, but especially in this space. I mean, something new happens every day.
Yeah.
But...
Well, as it is with life anyway. You're always learning something new. If you really think you know something, that's when you're in trouble. I shouldn't say you. I should say me. When I think I know something. The universe is going to teach me how much I know. Yeah,
it's the fork thing is just so confusing because it's, a term, it's a specific term that has multiple meanings. We have software forks, which happen all the time. We have just, blockchain forks and soft forks and hard forks. And it's just, there's, somebody just wants a knife.
Mm-hmm. But you even had a sound effect.
Yeah, that was good.